Welcome to episode 689 of Salsidoparanormal. I'm your host, James Salsido, and tonight I'll be sharing true paranormal stories from the web. As always, you can find all episodes of the show, along with links to social media and other ways to contact me, at the podcast page, and that is salsidoparanormal.podbean.com. That's SALSIDO paranormal.podbean.com. Always happy to hear from you all, whether you have comments or questions or topic suggestions or accounts of paranormal experiences, whether they're your own or from others that you trust. Happy to either read those or have you join me on the show to talk about them. Thank you all for listening, whether you are here for the live streams on Discord or if you listen to the podcast or YouTube feeds or on the Troubled Minds Radio Network, KUAP Digital Broadcasting. There you can hear replays of 2 episodes of my show every night at 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern, right before Michael Strange and Troubled Minds Radio comes on. And as always, I want to thank Michael Strange for putting all my shows up on the network and having me there. If you'd like to support my show, you can do that in a few different ways. You can share the show with others and rate and review it on your favorite podcast platforms. You can find books I've written over on Amazon, paranormal fiction and nonfiction, including my most recent release, Salsido Paranormal Experiences. You can sign up for the Patreon page, even though I'm not releasing anything on a regular basis right now. There are some episodes there you can only find there. Or you can just make one-time donations through PayPal. Support is never expected, but always appreciated, as there are expenses in making these shows, from equipment to research materials to travel expenses in some cases. I believe that takes care of everything. We are starting our new schedule of just releasing 2 shows per week, except in cases where I'm able to do more. So this is the first of the 2 shows for this coming week here. That's the plan for now. May change later. Of course, this show has never really had a completely set schedule that has lasted for very long, unfortunately, but hopefully this one will stick for a while. And I'm glad to be getting back to these true paranormal stories from the web. They are some of my favorite kinds of shows to do, and that's why I wanted to do these. So, tonight. So let me get to the file here, and we will start. This first one says, my brother recalls seeing little people in our grandmother's house as a child. These figures were very small, about 7 to 9 inches tall, and resembled people, but had an unusual skin hue, I guess main color, and very slender bodies. They would hide behind table legs or other objects, and occasionally peek out to watch him while he would play. The little figures didn't speak or respond when he tried talking to them. He can't remember specific facial features, only a vague sense of their presence, like recalling a dream. When he mentioned this to his, I guess it would be our grandmother, because it's the writer too, she seemed unsettled, but denied seeing anything similar. His sister, let's see here. Well, I guess it could be his sister only. His sister mentioned... Oh, wait, I lost my spot. His sister had also never seen them. Initially, the encounters felt playful, but over time, he began feeling uncomfortable and even threatened by them. This discomfort led him to start asking others about the experience for reassurance. As an adult, he found a video, likely CGI, computer-generated imagery, of a small figure running past a child in a kitchen, which he felt closely resembled what he remembered seeing. And that's where that one ends. So I've heard and read similar accounts from this, like this before, where children specifically, will see things that other adults may not see. Now, I do wonder about the grandmother, because sometimes when things are frightening the people or upsetting the people, they will try to keep from thinking about them, keep them out of their mind, try to deny that they happened, and that to themselves as well as to others. And it's not that they're trying to be mean to anybody or anything like that necessarily. It's that whatever they experience could have been enough or traumatic enough, or just shook them enough to where they don't want to believe that could have been real. So I wonder if the grandmother did experience something similar. I'm wondering how many years the family lived in the house, had the house, if she was a child when she was there as well, or not. Did she see something similar when she was a child there, or when she was an adult there? Because children, in a lot of cases, not all cases by any means, but they seem to be able to, in some cases, process things in a different way, where in some cases, now others, yes, whatever they experience will frighten them, in terms of the paranormal. But then other cases, they just seem to, I've even seen this written in accounts before, they just thought it was a normal thing to see whatever they were seeing, and it didn't really bother them much. So, I don't know where I was going with that now. But anyway, but when you're an adult and you're used to things being a certain way, and maybe you've been told all your life, or you've heard all your life in general, that these kinds of things, the paranormal, whatever you want to call it, does not exist, and then you have that experience, that can be very shocking, I think. So, I just wonder what the grandmother saw, if she did see anything, or not. It's hard to say. But I don't blame the brother for their reaction to everything either. So, excuse me. Excuse me. So that's that story there, that true story there. And I think we can move on to the next one. And again, thank you all, as always, for being here for the live streams, those of you that are here. And thank you all for listening to the podcast as well, those of you that just listen to the recordings after the fact, because and for sticking around and listening to them and dealing with my constantly changing schedule and long breaks and all that stuff. It's not it's never it's not something I like to do. I don't like taking breaks, but it happens. Moving on to the next one here. This one says, I was outside bringing firewood to the back porch for a wood stove. I heard a voice resembling my 5-year-old daughter calling Daddy from just beyond the yard's fence. My daughter was not home, but staying with her grandmother that night. The voice had a strange metallic quality, making it unusual. Hearing the sound creeped me out, and I quickly went back inside. And that's where that one ends. That is that metallic nature to voices and sounds. That I've heard that a lot over the years. I always wonder what that is. Is it some kind of, I don't know, the nature of whatever or whoever is trying to mimic the voice of people? is that metallic sound distortion that is caused by, I don't know, the whatever the being is, whatever the presence is, trying to speak when maybe in some cases it doesn't have, um, let's say, a physical body, physical lungs, or physical vocal cords. It's sort of maybe playing back a recording in a way of the voice that it's copying. I don't know, but I've heard of that metallic nature to sounds and voices before and experiences. And I have no idea what it means, but it's just something that is there. You can find that if you look into enough of these reports. So, I don't blame the writer there for going back inside when they did right away. Sounds like some kind of a mimic of some sort, even though we really don't know what that means or what those are. All we know is what it does, which is sort of where it gets its name of a mimic, or in some cases a doppelganger, that kind of thing. But yeah, I don't know with that one. I'd be curious to know if, as always, if there was ever any other activity around the area, around the house. They don't say that there was, so that sort of makes me wonder if there wasn't or there isn't. And so that becomes another question: was this a one-time experience? And if so, then how did that happen, and why did that happen? Because the single experiences, to me, are just as interesting as the cases where there's a lot going on in a home and around a home, because then what caused that single experience at that time? So, moving on to the next one here. Excuse me. And go from there. Let's see. All right. So, this one says, I am a skeptic of paranormal phenomena, but I did see something unusual and unsettling. This happened in Texas, near a mall where I worked. Early morning shifts as a stock teammate in an athletic store. It was just after 4 a.m., and I was driving a main road near a hospital when I saw a figure on the side of the road, entirely in white, with no visible face, hands, or feet, seemingly covered in a white elastic-like cloth. At first the figure was limping, but then it shifted to moving on all fours, like a dog, before walking upright again. I was unnerved, but became truly spooked when I turned to look back, both through my mirrors and directly, and the figure had disappeared without a trace. The road was quiet, with few cars or people. I drove this route daily and never, excuse me, never encountered anyone in that area at that time before. I'm not trying to convince you all of anything. I'm just looking for any logical explanations or similar experiences from others. That's where that one ends. I don't know what they saw there. Sounds like, the actions sound like some kind of a cryptid, but I wonder the part about it being covered in something that's white. I don't know. Could that be its skin in a way? It just has really unusual. I mean, there have been reports of cryptids of different creatures that appear to be all white. Not like an apparition in white clothes or white light, but like an actual creature that has white colored, not like Now, like just literally white colored skin or surfaces or whatever. I don't know what that one though. If that's what that was, it seems odd that the person didn't notice or see any features, any hands or feet. But then if that's the case, then how did it, whatever that was, move? Maybe they were just really small. I don't know. Uh, but then and then it vanishing like that. I really have no idea how to classify that. Just based on, of course, the limited amount of information that we have there. But there are plenty of roadside sightings of all kinds of things out there. So that is not the first, and I'm sure will not be the last. So and then as always, I don't know, the cases where whatever people are seeing can't easily be classified to me are even more amazing than the ones where they can say it's a Bigfoot or Sasquatch, or it's an apparition dressed all in white, or whatever. The sort of clear images of whatever people are seeing. Those are still amazing, but then some of these kinds of sightings to me are more interesting because people can't describe easily what they're seeing. So anyway, moving on to the next one here. Let me see. This one says, once I can get to it. Okay. So that's a little bit longer. This one says, I recently moved into a new house and had a strange experience at 4:45 a.m. I woke up around 2:15 a.m. from a stressful dream, which is a common thing for me, and struggled to fall back asleep. Between 2:15 a.m. and waking up again later, I heard soft footsteps in the hallway, which I assumed was my flatmate starting their day. My bedroom door clicked open despite being locked before I went to sleep again, which was strange because all the bedrooms in the house have locks. In the dark, I saw the door opening further, then seemingly closing partially, only to open wider again. I sat up suddenly, expecting it to be my flatmate, but when I turned on the light, the door was shut and locked. I am sure I was awake during the experience, and I had heard the door and soft footsteps. Soft hallway sounds. I guess they mean the footsteps. Even though the house has noisy, creaky floorboards and hinges that usually make distinct sounds. It could have been a dream, a trick of the eyes in the dark, or an overactive imagination, but I would still like to hear similar experiences from others, and that's where that one ends. It reminds me of a little bit of something I shared a little while back, where someone living in a barracks, military barracks, saw their bedroom door open, but it opened the wrong way. It opened in a way where the hinges shouldn't have allowed that, and then shut again. And then they feel like they must have woken up at that point because their door could not physically do that. I do think that in the whole waking up or going to sleep process, there can be interactions. I mean, there can be things that our own minds can make or cause or things like that. So I'm not ruling that out. But I think it's easier for other beings to interact with us and sort of access or send send messages or make contact with our minds and make things appear to be different than what they are and make sounds in a way in our own minds. I say that because of, again, as I've talked about many times before, my first experience, at least as far as I remember, with the paranormal. I was at my cousin's house and we were looking into the back of the basement, and it was dark in that part of the basement, and we both saw and above this clothesline that the family had stretched across near the ceiling. They had several clotheslines stretched across the room to hang up sheets for drying because it was a family of 5. And there was a clothesline with a sheet hanging on it, but then above that, we saw just the head of an older woman, but then of course no feet below the clothesline, and nothing for anyone to stand on. And of course, that clothesline was a good 5.5, 6 feet up off the ground. But the reason that now I think that in some cases we do receive images and sounds, or at least what seems to be images and sounds, in other words, maybe thoughts or energy or who knows what, I do think that other beings can send those kinds of things to us because of what I saw that night, which is I could see the face of this older woman clearly, even though I'm legally blind. And at the distance with the distance between us and whoever or whatever this was, I should not have seen anything except for a blur. But I could see the face in detail. So, and of course at the time, even though I didn't know anything about anything paranormal, that was what was freaking me out the most, because even though I didn't know how to classify anything or whatever, I still knew that I shouldn't have been seeing what I was seeing. And so, but I think it was some being, some entity connecting with my mind in a way, some kind of way, that that made it possible to see them. Yeah, it's possible that I saw her with my third eye. I don't know. I wonder if through the third eye can people have sightings and hear sounds. So from the chat there, and good question, Sweets. But yeah, I don't know. It's possible because, but see, the other part about that is my cousin, who at the time had no problems with seeing, saw the same thing I did. So were we seeing it in different ways? Again, him with his physical eyes, and then me with maybe my third eye, or I don't know, with my mind, or whatever you want to call it. I think there's so many of these things are all connected in different ways. And so is the third eye part of the mind or connected to the mind? I don't know. I think those are all good questions. Of course, I have no answers for them. But and then we are definitely not going to get to another story in this episode here because we only have about a minute or so left of time. But yeah, and other things that I've seen over the years, I still wonder about that because of just either how far away they are from me, or how fast they come and go. I do wonder about that. How much of that am I seeing with my physical eyes, because I can see things that are close, and how much am I seeing with other parts of my mind, or my spirit, or whatever you want to call it. I have no idea. But that's all the time we have for this episode. Thank you all for listening, and I will talk to you all next time on Salsidoparanormal. Take care.